title of my speech is What Caused the Credit Crunch? With What Caused the Credit Crunch, Mike Cato.
Thank you, Mike. Good morning, Toastmasters, and welcome to our guests. Recently, I sought to determine the cause of the credit crisis. So I consulted my wide range of friends, but unfortunately, neither of them knew the answer. But they did tell me that according to the media, the credit crunch is complicated and no one really understands it. Now, when something goes horribly wrong and people try to tell me, oh, it's complicated, no one knows what happened, I know they're hiding something, right? It's obvious. So today, I will give you 3 points that will determine exactly what caused the current crisis and who's to blame. They are the history of the Great Depression, the principles of banking, and the history behind the current crisis. Now, I happen to work with one of New Zealand's top 10 economists. So I asked him, Mr. Gibbs, what caused the Great Depression? And he told me, Mike, I spent 6 years studying that at university, and what I learned was that it's complicated and no one really understands it. So what does that tell us? Well, it tells me that anyone studying economics at university is completely wasting their time. So I did what any rational person would do, looked up Google, and seconds later had the answer. According to Nobel Prize-winning economist Milton Friedman, who wrote the book on the Great Depression, the US Fed Reserve, which is like our Reserve Bank here, absolutely caused the Great Depression by reducing the money supply by 40%. Those who knew the Great Depression was coming got fabulously rich. Unfortunately, everyone else was reduced to crushing, grinding poverty for the next 10 years. So now you understand the cause of the Great Depression, it's time to look at the principles of banking. Because banking, like our democracy, is a very principled industry. And those principles, like democracy, go against everything I stand for. The first principle of banking is that of collective irresponsibility. And the second principle is that of sacrifice, typically yours. Collective irresponsibility works like this. If everyone is to blame, then no one's to blame. It's like saying, the dog ate my homework. Second is the principle of sacrifice, and it works like this. Take one man, in this case Bernard Madoff, blame the whole crisis on him, and then put him in jail for 300 years. Now, I know Bernard Madoff is a bad guy, but can we really blame everything on him? Well, yes we can! So, now you understand the cause of the Great Depression and the principles of banking. But what caused our current crisis? Well, here's the big answer. Back in 1990, Bill Clinton passed legislation to force the poor old banks to lend money to people with bad credit ratings from minority groups. Of course, if you lend money to people who don't pay their debts, you lose money. Which brings us to a third principle of banking. The banks never lose. So, that's when the good old US government stepped up to the plate. With two companies called Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, they bought the dodgy loans off the banks so that taxpayers could lose. Now, a friend of mine actually said to me, "Mike, think about those names. Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, they sound like tax dodge companies." They knew this would happen from the start, and they made up those stupid names to mock us. They've been laughing at us all along. And you know what? I can't argue with that. I think he's right. They're mocking us. So what happened to the main players in this sham? Well, the banks earned 10 years of super profits, followed by a bailout. And the borrowers? 10 years of cheap accommodation, and then they just walk away. And see, they still walk away, leaving the bill to the poor old long-suffering taxpayers. And of course, the last people left paying any tax are wage and salary earners. So only wage and salary earners lose. Hang on. That's us. Oh, I see some in the audience are close to tears. I'm sorry. It's okay. Even my friends say that I bring them down. Both of them. But this was meant to be a humorous speech. So I'd like to at least finish on a positive note. Okay, so banks and finance companies earn super profits and mega bonuses from your taxes. But hey, it's only money. Sure, the banks took all the money, but they gave us something too. They gave us the blame.